Good morning everyone and welcome to the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Today we're working on our Design Your Own quilt and we have this project going on and we're working on making some new pieces for it. So I'm going to quickly go over this starch basting process and show you how I'm working on this and the progress I've made. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Hi everyone and welcome back to the studio. Today we're working on those pieces for that Design Your Own quilt, and the pieces we're working on today are the really small little petals that we're going to put in our sunflower between our large petals, and I have just a few here. Whoops, that one's coming. Little seam is coming off of it. Let's pin it down so we don't lose that. We'll starch it before we put it away. So this is the petals on the sunflower in the center. And then we're going to have these other little petals that are going to show up. And they're going to be just kind of a little accent here. So it's a double petaled sunflower. So it's going to look something like that. And these little ones here are the ones we're making today. So let's get started. Now, we've covered a little bit of this before, but I just wanted to go over it some. So for this little petal, I decided to make a heat-proof mylar template because I'm going to need 10 to 12 of these, the same shape, the same size. And when that is the situation, you are really better off to go ahead and make the template so you can use it over and over again. And let me show you what that package looks like. Here we are. This is the Karen K. Buckley Perfect Heat Resistant Template Plastic. And it looks like that. And it's been a while since I purchased these. I ordered them through Amazon. I think you can order them directly from her website as well. And I want to say it was $12 to $15 for the pack, and you only get 4 sheets. So I think it is a little pricey. So you want to be really careful that when you decide to use this, you really do need it. If you're just going to make one piece, I would tell you to try to make it out of paper or cardboard, or even the template material that you can buy at Joann's, or they may have it at Hobby Lobby's and Michael's, I'm not sure. This is not heat proof, and when you apply your heat for your for turning these under, it is going to deform and curl a bit. But if you're only making 1 or 2, you can usually get away with that. But for 10 to 12, we're definitely going to need something we can reuse over and over again. So I've cut these pieces, and we want to put these right side down. And we have covered this process on the channel before, both in the Miss Kelly project and in some other instances of applique. But it's always good to kind of check it out again from time to time, because you could have missed something, or I could have neglected to cover it, and sometimes that second view or the third view is really what you need to catch on. And we're going to put our template down. All right, and we're going to let it soak in a bit. Now for this solution, this is the liquid fabric starch, and I originally mixed it equal parts water and starch, and it has sat for a few days because I filmed this before and the video didn't work, so I'm coming back in to film it again. So this morning when I'm looking at it, it's the same as the other day. I added some more water, and I probably now it's maybe 2 parts water to 1 part starch. Okay, that has soaked in. We're going to go ahead and start. But you can just experiment to see what works best for you. The heavier the starch concentration, the stiffer your product is going to be, but you're also going to have more starch residue on it. And I have just folded that over, and I'm ironing it over that plastic so that it does two things. Number one, it takes the shape of the plastic and it dries the fabric out, because it's that drying that really gives you the shape you're looking for. And then I pull that point in, and I'm going to do the same thing all the way down. You want to be careful you don't touch your fingers on that iron, because even though this is a little tiny iron, it still gets very hot. Okay, so there's one. We're going to flip it over and iron on the top, because we want to get that fabric dry. I mean, that's our ultimate goal. Once it's dry, that crease will set in and you'll be good to go. Now let's start on another one while we give that just a minute. Because you want to paint it on, and you want to give it a second or 10 seconds, 20 seconds, something like that, to kind of soak into the fabric so that all of those threads in there, the weave, all gets it. A note to you and to myself, I would never use this on my regular cutting board, because the heat, sometimes even just sitting there for a long period of time, will cause it to warp. If you iron on it, it's going to cause it to warp. And once it warps, it's virtually impossible to get it off. But this board is specifically made to cut on one side and iron on the other. And the cut side, even though it is a cutting board, it is permanently affixed to a hard surface here. So it's not going to warp as far as I can tell. Okay, we're ready to move. Let's go back to this one. We're going to carefully pull it off, and we're going to sit it there so it can finish drying. If you were unsure if it's going to stay, you can kind of give it a couple of pins to hold it in place, hold it down while you're working on the next one. And here we go. I usually like to start on this edge that's going to go underneath the center of the petal, the center of the flower, because that edge does not need to be starched down. And once you get the hang of this, you can run through these pretty quickly. I think I did 4 of these the other day when we filmed. And we're going to start here at the point. I'm going to do this again. There, the point of the template is right here. So we're going to take this and fold it over so we get that nice point, and then we're going to do a fold. So we've still got that nice point. And then we're going to start folding up the curve. And you probably want to have, on average, about 1/4 of an inch turned under. Sometimes you can do it with less, and you certainly can do it with more. The problem with more is you've got more folds there, and it becomes a little difficult to control everything, make sure it's done correctly, and you don't want that bulk. The problem with having too little is the fabric could fray over time, and you lose that seam, and it would ravel out on you. So we've made 2 just that quickly, and when we start looking at how these are going to go together, again, we're going to have those big petals here, and they're going to slightly overlap. And depending on how big we make it, we could adjust this all the way out here, or we could adjust it here. So we don't know that quite yet. But these little petals are going to go just inside. Let's take the mylar out of that one. And they may not be quite that close together. Maybe more like that. So that's the look we're going for. Now, really quickly, I want to show you the next portion that we're going to be working on. And that's going to be our coneflower. And I've got a couple of these pieces here together. This is the center. And because we're only making probably at most 2 coneflowers, and we may make one smaller than the other, I'm not sure. This is going to be the biggest one. This is the center of the flower. And as I told you, we don't want to use the heat-proof mylar if we don't need to because it's expensive. This one I used just a piece of paper. And I was just very slow and cautious when I did this, so that when that paper got wet, you don't want the paper to fold over on itself. You want to keep the paper kind of stiff where it is and fold only the fabric over it. So if you just go slowly, you can do that. That one's done just with the paper, as is this one. Now I'm going to need at least 2 of this one, but I think 2 I can do without problem, especially if I let it dry really well between. So there's the center, and there's going to be the outside. And again, we can adjust this in, we can adjust this out, however it looks the best. And then we're going to have at least 1 here, and then this one's a little shorter to be in the middle. So we'll have at least 2 of each of these to make this flower. And then we may adjust that just slightly, because with the coneflower, it's going to kind of go out like this. And we may decide, I think that's still the best one there. So that's going to be how our flower is going to come together. And it may look better just to be in just a little bit. We're just going to adjust those once we set them on the background. So I'll need to finish making these petals. And like I said, with only making 2 of each, the paper is going to work fine. So there's just a quick rundown on what's happening on this project. This is a slow project because we're making so many pieces and we don't have a predetermined pattern that we're laying it out against. We're designing as we go. So things can change, things can adjust, sizes can adjust, fabrics can adjust. I think for my other coneflower, I'm going to look for something with a little bit of a pinky tone that still goes in with these, because a lot of coneflowers have that kind of maroon center and then pink flowers. This one's going to just have a little bit of red or orange in that center and the yellow petals. And I don't know if there's actually a flower that looks like that or not, but for our design, we're the designer and there will be. So we'll look for some other fabrics to maybe do another one. So that's kind of where we are this week, and I'm going to be finishing up on some of these pieces and then work on these 2. These petals are actually being made out of scraps, so I am limited in how I do it. When I get to the smaller ones, then I can get 2 petals out of 1 piece, but for these big ones, it took the whole piece to do it. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. It's a little something different than your normal pull out a pattern or make repetitive kinds of blocks to go together for a quilt. It's something that would be uniquely mine or uniquely yours as you design it, and it's free form. You do it just how you want to, and you just keep working with it until you're happy with it or until you're satisfied that you've done the best you can do with that particular project. Please let me know if you've decided to do something like this for yourself and how it's going. I'd love to know that. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, And we'll see you next week at the Shamrock Quilt Studio. Bye.